Our scripture reading today is Job 14:1. A man who is born of woman is too few days and full of trouble.
Okay, that's certainly a good verse, because there are a lot of troubles in our life, and sometimes we forget to ask for guidance from God. Sometimes we forget to share it with others. I have another scripture reading that I want to add to here, just to reassure our guest speaker who's doing this for the first time. It says in Psalms 91 verse 7, 1,000 may fall at thy side, and 10,000 may fall at thy right hand, but it will not come nigh to thee. Okay. Okay. Share with us on this.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I said I would do this, and then Sunday I said, oh, why did I say that? And I was going to call Joe. Monday morning I called Joe and left him a message, and he said he didn't get it. Okay, so then all week I was thinking, oh, I think I'm supposed to still do it. So I was taking a little bit of notes, and I'm thinking, well, why am I doing that? If this is my testimony, I don't need to take notes. And by Friday, I still was like, the devil was like working on me. I had kind of a bad week. And so I called him up Friday, and I said, Joe, I just don't want to do it. But before I called him, I said, Lord, if he answers the phone, I guess the Holy Spirit said, if he answers the phone, then you should do it. And I thought, oh, he's not answering the phone. And I like 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And he answered it. And I went, oh no. And so I said, Joe, I don't want to do it. And then I felt guilty. So I came today and I said, okay, Joe, I think I'm going to. Because the Holy Spirit told me if he answers the phone, you should follow through. So I'm here and thankful to share with you. So we bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this opportunity to share what you want me to share. Give me the strength and the words that you want me to say. In your precious name,
I don't have mine.
So I was born in Broken Bow, and at age 6, I came from a broken home. And praise the Lord, I got to go live with Adventist parents. And I also got to go to Platte Valley Academy for a couple of years. And it taught me a lot about life for God. And then after I graduated, I got put on, I got mono the last week of school, and I'm like, I think the devil is really just, getting my life. So then I got put on a bus and sent to California to live with my sister. And for 25 years, I lived my own way, hardly giving God a thought. But I still had these parents who were praying for me. And we'd come home and we'd visit church. And finally, I heard in church, right after I was back, Mark Finley speaking. And it just got to my heart. And I gave my life back to God. I didn't do it right away, because I was still doing my sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I didn't want to give it up. So that went on for a few years. And I kept going to church. And I kept thinking, nobody knows what I'm doing after I go to church. I can just go out and party Saturday night. Nobody knows. I don't have to tell them. They won't know. And then I started feeling more guilt. So I finally realized, after I was cleaning for little old ladies, that they were following me around and not in trust. You know, they thought that I might do something in their home or take something. And I felt little tests, like a dollar bill was left, and I pretended to myself that it's like $100,000 of money. It's not mine, so don't take it. And I was like, oh, thank you, Lord, for these little tests. But we have to be thankful for all the little tests that God gives us along the way. So when I finally realized that my mother didn't know what I was doing, and my church didn't know what I was doing, wow, I'm really lucky. I can still party. But then I started realizing it doesn't matter if they know what I'm doing. God does. And finally, I had to stop doing those things. And I felt really good about it. And then I would still get depressed along the way with things that happened. And I've had so many discouraging things happen in my life. I guess it's God allowing trials so that you get stronger and closer to God. But when I was partying in California, I was so on my self-centered self that I wasn't thinking about having children or grandchildren. All I wanted to do is have sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I have plenty of that for years and years. To this day, that is the reason I have no grandchildren or children. And it's very hurtful, but when you do things wrong against God, it's going to come back to you. So I have to go through life with just me and God, and trusting God that He knows the things that are right for me and best for me, because I step out and I try to do it the way I want to. And when I do it my way, it never works very well. So I've had, as a lot of you know, a lot of different jobs. I've been fired probably 500 times. And I've been in 2 bad marriages, my choice. And when I come back to God, He always gives me what I need, not what I want. So Matthew 14:31 says, Jesus says, "Oh, you of little faith, why do you doubt?" And I'm still finding myself doubting to this very day, doubting God, that He's not giving me what I want. I need a job. I need a place to move. And I'm like, Lord, what are you doing? Where are you? And I think my faith isn't very strong if I'm doubting God. And the trials that I go through, I'm like, I don't know why this keeps happening. Then I pray, and I'm like, okay, Lord, I know you're there. And I've had to move for different things, and I ended up, when I got married and I moved to Arnold, and I was married, and he came to God because I wanted him to, and you don't do that when you don't have a relationship with God. So the marriage wasn't very good because he's an alcoholic. And when he got baptized, the devil did work, and I told him that it would. So I decided, Lord, I prayed and prayed because I was scared. So I said, Lord, if you want me out of this marriage, please help me with my life forward. I still kept a lady in Broken Bow to clean for, Alma Woodward. Bless her heart. And I would go back and forth to Broken Bow and clean for her. While I was going back and forth to clean for her, I was looking for a place to move and more work. And the Lord blessed abundantly. I was walking in downtown Broken Bow after I went to the chamber to look for work. And I got a paper from the chamber, and it had a job for Eileen at the country club. So I saw her right on the street, and I said, do you still have any work at the country club? And she said, no. I thought, oh no. She said, I need my house cleaned. And I said, I'll do it. And she said, my son does, and my other son. So right there I got 3 jobs. And then I got a job for another girl that was her friend, Tara Miller. And through her I got Sergeant Pipe. And then I got many, many more. And that's the best money I've ever made in my entire life. And then I got really selfish again, because I wanted a man. I'm going to Alaska. And I did. I packed up, sold everything, sent stuff up there. And I got up there, and I didn't like it too well. I didn't like being with him. It was the wrong thing to do. We weren't sitting together, really. And then I thought, well, this isn't so bad. I'm going to church. I'm trying to do the right thing, but the appearance of evil. So it was communion and New Year's the same day. And I said, that's it. The Lord said, it's time for this to stop. So I moved out. And God blessed again. He gave me plenty of work, plenty of friends and loved ones up there. And I enjoyed life. I stayed for from October, the end of October, till the middle of July. He gave me safe travel. He gave me beauty to see all up there, and friends. And to this day, I'm still friends with the people. And I came back. Well, I went to Dallas because my friend that I went to travel school in California, thinking I'm going to do what I want to do. And I have a friend from that, and she moved to Dallas, and she has a doggy daycare. So she says, honey, I know you're not happy up there. Why don't you come down here and you can work for me? Well, it was only part-time, but it was a way to get out of Alaska. So I went down from the freezer to the furnace, which I was really glad. And I worked with the dogs, and I enjoyed it, but then I wasn't getting work, and I wasn't really trusting God, because I hadn't given it to God. I thought, I can do this. I don't really need God. And then I got a job I didn't really like. And as you know, jobs have troubles and things that you can't overcome or you can't get through on your own. And when you don't take it to God and let Him guide you, then it doesn't work very well for you. So I lost that job, and then I was looking for more work, and my friend decided her husband's coming back from Tehran. She kind of wanted the house back to them, and so I needed to leave. I wasn't getting any more work. I wasn't finding a place to move. So my mom said, I want you to come back home. And you know, sometimes you got to, she says, I'm still the mama. You got to obey, and sometimes you need to be near people that bring out, that give you love and that you can love. So I came back home, and God blessed in every way, finding me work and finding me a place to move. And so so I still think, well, why am I doubting? You know, I'm always still doubting. So I was blessed with, I forgot to tell you, but along the way, when I first came back from California, I thought, I can't afford to pay tithe. And then I read, test me. So I thought, okay, I'm going to test you. So I did. And I started paying tithe. And I didn't think I could do it. I've been doing it ever since. And you know what? He has blessed. He always does. And he blessed me with a job that I thought, I had a job that I thought was really bad. You know, putting up with men and a lot of things terrible there. So I prayed, and I always pray, and I said, Lord, if you want me out of here, then I think, you know, I need your guidance. And I get fired like that. So then I was looking for another job, waiting on God for over 2 months. And I thought, Lord, where are you again? And then he blessed me with NPPD. Jeff had the sermon that it was the light. And I was like, oh Lord, that's my sign. I was blessed to work with Vicki Graham's daughter while I was there. And I thought, okay, Lord, that's another sign. You're still there. And I love my Vicki. And, you know, they would come to work, and then they would find out there's other things they're always complaining about. And one of them said to me, I think they're harassing you, Carolyn. And I said, well, I think I kind of agree with you. And then another day after that, because we had a bad day with some spit and shoes that the guys were doing there. And Vicki was always complaining about the trash bags, so I took it to my supervisor, and I tried to stand up for her and my team. And at first it seemed like he was, you know, he cared. And then after that, it didn't matter to them. They went to the meeting, and all they did is brag that they're going to open another office in Kearney. Okay. I thought, okay, that's good. Maybe I can still, you know, get a different place to work, because this one doesn't seem to be going too good. So Trevor comes to work one day, and he says, Carolyn, there's a job on Indeed.com for a supervisor. Do they have more business in Kearney? And I said, no, Trevor, I don't think so. I think that's my job. And this went on for another 12 days. And I'm like, the Lord gave me strength to get through it, you know, trying to keep happy and act like nothing's really going on. And I seen all these signs, people running, sneaking to each other. And Vicki and Trevor says, if they fire you, we're going to quit. By this time, Vicki had already been telling me she's very fed up and she's going to give her notice to quit. And I said, oh, Vicki, please don't. I need you with me. So she hung on, and she hung on for another 2 or 3 weeks. And I said, Vicki, I think they're going to fire me. It's going to be Friday. So I'm working away, trying to just stick to my business. And sure enough, when he came, that's what he said. I said, you know, my team knows what's going on. And I never said, we have a plan, and they're going to quit. I let my team handle their own decision. Even if they told me they were going to quit, they could change their mind. So they did quit. And I think they were kind of shocked, but you know, now I'm still trying to trust God. I don't know what He has in store. My sister told me when I didn't want to give my testimony, she said, you know, you got to be like Job. And then the scripture reading was Job. I'm just going, the Lord has been in it all along. The Lord knows what I need, whether it's what I want or not. And when I get hurt by people, or when I feel I've done something, you know, all I can do, we gotta take it to God. Ask for forgiveness, still be loving, and carry on and be a reflection of Christ. Not with our own strength, but with His strength. So I just ask for prayer that you would help me find a job that God wants me to have and a place to move. I thought I was working on moving to Arnold, and I'm still waiting. I'm waiting on, but you got to give it to God and let His time come and not worry. Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. So, I'm praying that I will allow the Lord to lead my path and not be greedy and try to do it myself. Thank you.
Share with us. We've all been through some of the same hardships along the way, and it's nice to know that there's a way on through these things. If anyone else wants to give a testimony, we've got 20 minutes. If you have a short story you'd like to tell right now, if you don't have something right now, get with me here in a month or so. We'll be needing someone else to give a testimony. Come on up.
You know, she was talking about preparing, and I was thinking we're supposed to be able to explain the hope we have within us. And if I ever had to get up here, that I would need all that time to think and practice. Well, I was a third-generation Adventist, so I had the luxury of being in a home where it was very supportive of our beliefs. I didn't have to challenge my mom about I wanted to keep the Sabbath or anything. It was our culture. And I was going to the Adventist church school in town when we had an evangelistic series, and they had all the scary pictures of the dragons and all the monsters. And I was baptized. I think I was about 10 years old, and people wondered if I was old enough, but I could explain that I understood all the doctrines. I knew exactly what the precepts of the church were, and all the beliefs, and how Ellen White fit into it, and all of her writings. So I was baptized, and I was a good little Adventist. I knew all the rules. I knew all the do's and the don'ts. And every Sabbath they could count on me sitting in the pew, and I knew my memory verse. And then we changed schools to a non-denominational school, and our Bible teacher was sick one day, and the principal filled in, and he wanted us to write a one-page description of when we accepted Christ. And I really couldn't do that. I could say when I joined the church, but I couldn't say when I got on my knees and did the Billy Graham prayer and accepted Christ and became born again. So I wrote a kind of a snide one-page thing about how if he really wanted to know, he could ask me personally. But then I went home and took the dog on a walk out in the desert, because my whole life I wanted to be God's child. I wanted to do all those things. I'd made that decision, but I'd never made that final step. So I got down on my knees and I did the prayer like, Lord, I want you in my heart. I want to be born again. Up till then, I knew how to follow the rules, but after that, it became a relationship. It became me talking to a dad instead of reading a letter from the dad on everything I was supposed to do, all the list of chores I was supposed to do. That's when I had the hope within me. And if I could explain that to other people, I'm willing to step up when I'm not prepared very much.
And thank you very much. We all have this. I better read my notes here to see if I'm missing something. Is there anyone else that would like to say a few words? Mary, you're awful quiet back there. Every time you come, you sit quietly in the back. I'm not meaning to put you on the spot, but you're welcome to, anyone is welcome to come. Come on up.
Hello everyone.
No.
Do you know this feeling when you someone is asking for a volunteer and you're like, I want to be, and when you're in, you're just like, why did I do that? So that's basically how I feel now. Okay, so if I make any mistake in English, just tell me. I just wanted to share with you a struggle that I had these past weeks. So as you may know, I'm only here for 1 year. I'm only here to study in UNK for 1 year. And since I began to study in college, I don't really know what will happen after. I mean, I have this year and it's just amazing. I have really good teacher, good content in class, and I really enjoy it. But I don't know what I will do when I be back in France. I don't know at all. And it begins to frighten me like more than usual, because most of the time I'm like, yeah, I'll see later. But yeah, I get really anxious about what will happen after that. You know that you may know that I'm studying theater, and it's, I mean, what good Adventist is studying theater? So it's kind of hard to stay strong in your beliefs and also doing what you like to do. So I don't have the answer. I don't know. I still don't know what I will do, but I kind of found peace with God. You know, just giving Him all my struggles, all my fears, because yeah, I still don't know what I will do, but I really know that He blessed me with a lot of gift about you know, presenting things in an artistic way. That's what I'm good in. I love doing that in the church or even outside, and I really think that He gave me that. That didn't it didn't came from, you know, anyone else. So yeah, I just got peace from what will happen to me after.
Amen.
Okay, thank you.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else that would like to say a few words? We got 15 minutes. That's a long time to listen to me. I want to, because I have my two oldest grandsons with me today. They're sitting way in the back there, but my oldest grandson, Andrew, and I have been the last few evenings, as we go to bed, he likes to get a back rub, and so sometimes my back rubs are too short, and he reminds me that I didn't rub his back very long. So we've been reading from the book of Ecclesiastes. I think it's a great book for young people. It was my favorite book when I was young and early married. And if I can find it here, I want to read. This is a different Bible than we've been reading out of, but I really like this. I wasn't quite prepared for this. I don't know why I got into this, and I don't have it marked in this Bible, but the whole book is wonderful for young people with dreams and goals that may or may not materialize. And I would highly recommend that all you teens and 20s and 30s read the book of Ecclesiastes. It's not a very long book, and it's broken down into some pretty short chapters. And I'm not finding right now what I wanted to read, but it's the book that's famous for the times, you know, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and all these things. But
Ecclesiastes 3.
yeah, that's 3. That's chapter 3. But the chapter that I liked the most was on back here a little farther, and I had it all scribbled up in the Bible I used when I was that age, in my 20s, and my children were very small. So as you get time, read on through there. You'll like that whole book if you're young. When you get to be old like me, it looks way different than it did when I was young. But I certainly enjoyed it. Now I'm going to try to get my notes. I didn't mean to run Mary away. She left. I maybe embarrassed her by saying her name. Okay. Oh yeah, I was, you know, I'm almost a professional at these testimonies. I like to hear myself talk, and I like to talk about my life, because I've had a wonderful life, absolutely wonderful. I've had so few troubles that they're hardly worth mentioning, but as I say, I'm almost proud that I got through them all, you know, that my God would care enough to keep me alive for 70 years when He could have snuffed me out in any circumstance that I put myself in. I mean, we know that He helps us breathe every day, and so He has in control of our lives every time. But I have been through so many things that I just keep bouncing back from, that He keeps healing me from the stupid things that I do and the falls that I make. And I feel like I'm almost famous. In fact, you got something to say, Chase? Oh, you have your hand, you're just scratching your head. Okay. But I mean, here's how important I am to God. He sent President Clinton, Bill Clinton, to Kearney to heal me of a dislocated collarbone. Now, anybody else can say that out here? Anybody else had the president heal you? But I have. I actually did. I had done a stupid thing, you know, looking this way and walking that way, and I went off into our service pit. It's got a concrete bottom, and I whammed on the bottom, knocked my back out of joint, dislocated my collarbone. So it's a little bit painful. I mean, you can stand it, but you cry at first, but you can stand it by the next day. I went to the doctor, and they said, well, yeah, your collarbone's dislocated. We'll have to do some physical therapy on you. So they sent me over to the Good Samaritan Hospital to a therapist up there, and he packed me in a big lead suit, you might say. Covered me up with this thing, and it was real hot. They heated these, I don't know whether it was lead or steel or what was in this big blanket they put over me. It was very heavy, and they laid me down and they crushed me with this thing, and they set a little timer, and maybe you've heard the story before, but I like to tell it, what the heck. And so they set a little timer, and they went away, and in a little bit, this little buzzer went off, and the guy comes back in, and he takes this big blanket off of you and says, you're not fixed yet, come back in 3 days or 2 days, I can't remember what it was. And so I did. I went back, and this guy comes out, different guy comes out, covers me with this same hot blanket, and I mean to tell you, you really get to sweating in there. It's a good hot treatment. And the little timer goes off, and they come back and pull the curtain, and they unwrap you and send you home, say you're not fixed, come back in a couple of days. And so I did, and I got back up in there, and they covered me up with this big heavy blanket full of bricks or lead or something, but it's really hot. And they set their little timer, and this guy goes away, and the timer goes off. He opens the curtain, comes back, takes it off. Well, I think it was the 4th time that I went back. They covered me with these hot bricks or whatever they were, and they set this little timer, and they went away, and pretty soon the timer went off, but nobody came. The guy didn't come back from through the curtain, and it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and finally I pulled this little emergency cord, you know, and the little red light comes on up above there, and nobody comes, and I'm getting really, really hot, and I'm thinking, I got to get out from under this thing. I mean, I was just in a pool of water. I was sweating so bad. And finally, as I decided I just got to get out of here, I'm going to push this thing off, and it went shh, and my collarbone went back into place. And so I hollered and said, anybody out there? I need out of this thing. Nobody answered. And so finally I pushed this blanket off, and I put my shoes and stuff back on, and I'm sitting in there waiting. Somebody's got to come and dismiss me from this deal, I thought. But I'm a little bold, so finally I decided, I'm going home. I'm fixed. So I got up and I started out through the curtain, and just as I pulled the curtain back, there's the guy right in my face. And I said, where you been? I said, the buzzer went off and the emergency light was on, and I said, but finally my collarbone, I felt it come back in. Oh, good. I said, well, where you been? Why's nobody watching me? Oh, he said, President Clinton is coming to town here in a couple of days, so we had an entire staff had to have a meeting so that everybody knew what they would do if something happened to the president, if he gets, shot or falls down or whatever. And so they left me in here, like 2 or 3 times as long as I was supposed to be in there. So I think that President Clinton fixed my collarbone when they wouldn't do it before, see? And a few days later, I was coming into town, and I was on Highway 30 there by where Advanced Auto is now, and the post office, and all these police cars stopped me, and the light was green, and they stopped me, and I waited, and I saw these Suburbans, 3 of them with the windows all dark. They headed up the street, and they stopped up by this little middle school that's right over here, just 3 or 4 blocks from here. And he got out and went up to the schoolyard. I don't know whether he went in the building or not, but so I could see him from a distance, but I didn't have my 7mm Magnum with me, so I let him go. I didn't bother him, but I had to wait there a long time because they waited till he was clear up there and all the security were around him. We were stopped for 4 or 5 minutes on Highway 30 while he got up there and got away. But anyway, so someday if you have a collarbone out of joint, don't let them take you out from under the blanket till you feel it go squish and come back in.
Call President Clinton.
Yeah, call President Clinton. Yeah, he's not so busy now. He could probably come right out. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, like I said, I was going to tell you, I'm almost a professional at this testimony deal. You guys have heard my testimony here, most of you, if you come to church regularly. But I have I've given my testimony here and at the Whole Reach Church, our Whole Reach Church, and who got me started was Full Gospel Businessmen. I've given my testimony to the local chapter here and to Concordia, Kansas, and I don't know, when you get caught up in the cycle, people get to know and you're willing to do this, and they call on you just for entertainment, because you can sit out there and make fun of that fool up there, Not really. They don't do that. They didn't do that, Carolyn. They didn't make fun of you. They probably did me, but not you. And so anyway, then, like I say, after she had told me she couldn't do this, I said, that's okay, I'll fill in. And then a couple hours later, here this Gold Star mother called, who is the director of the library over at Central Community College at Hastings. But she lost a son in Afghanistan, and her and I got acquainted at some meetings of the Military Order of the Purple Heart. Her father was wounded in World War II in the Battle of the Bulge, and so when he got to where he couldn't get around, he still wanted to go to the meetings, the Purple Heart meetings, and so she would help him. Her mother was available and could help him, but so anyway, the whole family was coming to these Purple Heart meetings, so I got well acquainted with them. We kind of became friends, and then I quit going to the Purple Heart meetings maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I hadn't really talked to her or been acquainted with her, been active with her, but she still remembered me, and when this library deal comes up, it's some kind of a storytelling deal. I don't know what I'm involved with. I got to call her back today and find out if she wants a 10-minute or an hour talk, because I mean my life goes on forever. My life I can tell you one exciting event like having the president fix my collarbone, or I can wander on for hours with my life. I've had a series of battles that's just absolutely wonderful. It's just the greatest thing. I mean, there's nothing could happen to a person better than has happened to me. I mean, I was born here in the United States of America, the freest, richest, most powerful land in the world, to wonderful parents that were, my father was a workaholic, but my mother stayed home and cared for us every step of the way. I mean, she took us fishing and she took us hunting, and when she couldn't go, her sister would take us, and my dad even took me fishing a few times. But they worked and they saved and they did everything for my brother and I, and they've left us they trained us to be workaholics, but we outgrew that. And we retired when my brother was 62, and he's got an incurable blood cancer, so he wanted to quit, and I had heart disease, and so we had planned to quit so I could have bypass surgery as soon as we got closed up. And then I had a real bad scare and did it before we got closed up. But so I retired at age 64, and because of the hard work of my parents, I've had enough money to continue in the lifestyle to which they made me accustomed. We're not rich, but we never have the deep freeze go empty at home. So I'm pretty lucky that way, and I'm sure that there's many of you out there that have had a good life too, because right here in the United States, life is good.